Redditors who experienced a glitch in the Matrix. What happened? TW maybe? I'm an artist and work with a scalpel fairly regularly. I'm pretty competent with it and haven't had any other injuries with it. But one time I was cutting out some artwork and spotted some blood on the page, which I thought was pretty strange. I was pretty confused as I didn't recall catching my hand, so checked my hands for injuries and there was blood but no cuts, so I washed my hands and checked them again, nothing. I shrugged it off thinking it was a little odd, but put it down to maybe leaning on something earlier and not noticing. I carry on cutting out my artwork and about 10 minutes later I slip and catch my hand with a blade. Pretty much the same area where the original blood was, but this time there's a visible gash but no blood at all. It's like my injury had happened in reverse. Not the most exciting one, but definitely creeped me out at the time. My dude just experienced some server lag. One time me and a friend were in her car late at night. She was driving. We approached a T-junction on a local road. We turned left and continued. A few minutes later we were approaching the same T-junction from the same direction we approached it in the first place. She stopped the car and we both just looked at each other in disbelief. If we had followed the road, it would have been taken us maybe 25 minutes to drive the circuit, which would have brought us back to that point from the same direction. We were driving for about 2 minutes after we pulled out of the junction and we just suddenly approached it again. It just wasn't possible. When I was young, I got a bunch of those common red plastic cups and stacked them into a pyramid. I was bored. After building the pyramid I would knock them down, then repeat. After a few times of this, one of the cups disappeared. Literally tore my room apart trying to find this cup. Never found it. Always makes me feel a little weird when I think about it. This happened to me once, but with a dice from a board game. There were 4 of us playing King of Tokyo, and you roll 6 or 8 dice each turn. One of the dice fell under the dining table, but we couldn't find it. We tore apart the room and it was nowhere to be found. We even were dropping the other dice on the ground to see how they fell, but no help. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, so there were not a lot of places it could go. We moved the next month and the same friends helped us pack everything up. But we still never found that missing dice. Did anyone have pants cuffed? Sherlock freaking Holmes right here. I bet that's what happened. September 2005. I woke up at 10:01. Late for physics class. Ran downstairs and arrived on time. At 9:57. This is according to the clock on my cell phone. Another time, while running to catch a train, I saw everyone suddenly take 2 steps backwards. And all at the same time. Edited for clarity. Greater than September 2005. I woke up at 10:01. Late for physics class. Ran downstairs and arrived on time. At 9:57. Plot twist. The school is in another time zone. I was shopping at a Costco and ran into my boss. Said hey, talked a bit and said goodbye as he walked out the front door. 5 minutes later I'm walking through frozen food and I see him again. But he's with a different woman. Made eye contact but he just looked the other way. I thought I just busted him with another woman, so I pulled out my phone and texted him asking him if he just came back to the store. He replied, no, I'm almost home. I walked over to my boss and said, hey, I thought you were home. He laughed and said, oh, you must know my brother. We're twins, and yes, he did just leave. Worked with my boss for almost 17 years and he never mentioned having a brother. When I talked to him the following Monday, he was laughing his ass off. While at uni, my friends and I ran out of booze. Hardly any shops were open because it was late on. So the only option was to walk the mile or so to the nearest 24-hour supermarket. Between the supermarket and the dorms we lived in was just row after row of suburban houses which all looked the same. As we were walking down one road we passed a field with a large campfire and some people riding horses around it. There were people playing musical instruments. and general sounds of a good time going on. The horses and fire, and the lanterns which were dotted about, gave it a very old-fashioned feel. Maybe 5 minutes after passing the field, now walking past houses again, one of my friends commented on how weird and out of place that gathering of people had been. My other friend and I had been thinking exactly the same thing, so curious, we turned around and walked back to find out exactly what was going on. There was nothing there. Not just no people or horses. There was no field, just more and more houses. Even though we were absolutely certain we were on the right road. As we'd simply turned around, we walked up and down the neighboring roads too. We found nothing. We weren't drunk, though we'd had some drinks. And so I've got absolutely no idea what happened that night. Bro, you were lucky you didn't go to the strange PPL in the field. In my country, people believes that those things are done by the devil trying to make you go there. So he gets you to anywhere. Maybe the hell. I once read a story about two children. They were brothers, a girl and a boy. In some day they were with their parents at house and they were bored, so they walked up a mountain. Mountains are common in that part of the country. And started hearing loud music and saw a party where people were drinking and eating delicious things. The boy said he wanted to go and talk to the people in the party, but her sister said no, it was better to go down home. They usually went to the mountain to play. By the way, we call that types of mountains cerros in my country. He didn't obey his sister and kept walking towards the party while the girl went down to her house, running to call her parents, and when she came back with them, nobody found a single evidence that there was a party. They never found the boy. When I ended reading that story, I was scared as fuck. I had to move to another house because I couldn't be alone there. By the way, as bought false, it was publicated by a prestigious publisher here. That was just the fi. Nothing special. Walking down a supermarket aisle towards the checkout. Then all of a sudden I'm a few steps behind where I was, still heading towards the checkout. The lady behind the checkout noticed too. Probably a lag of the server. Skeptical smiley face. Check your ping cause the na servers are going on a maintenance. Zawarudo. Toki wo tamare. I have identical twin sons. When they were 3, I had to make a 6-hour round-trip drive. And I had to take them with me. They slept for most of the drive. And on our way home I decided I should wake them up to go to the bathroom. Monsieur, I stopped at a rest stop and turned around to wake them up. Before I said the word, they both opened their eyes at the same time and started talking in perfect unison. They said to me, "Dad, we should tell you about the dream we just had. We were driving down the highway and we saw 3 piles of bones. One was me, one was my Bubba, and one was my full name." Then they closed their eyes and slept for the rest of the ride home. This happened 6 years ago, and recounting it still creeps me out. Were we going to crash and die that day? I'm not 100% sure they even knew my full name. I was dot to the monsieur. No, 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 no. Don't like it. Creepy stuff. I would have been too scared to drive any further. Like, sorry, kids. We live at the rest stop now because you two have scared the bejesus out of me. Some time ago, woke up in the morning, went about my typical morning routine of putting on my bathrobe and heading for the shower. But when I go get up and get the robe, it's not hanging where I always hang it. I think, fuck it, I'll look for it later, so I walk out into the hallway towards my bathroom. Monsieur, I see me standing in the hallway, in the bathrobe, freshly showered. I also look incredibly angry and hateful. And then, I'm standing in the hallway on my own in the bathrobe, feeling incredibly angry and confused, though I'm not sure why I felt angry. The other me wasn't there anymore. Went into the shower and stayed there for a good hour trying to process that one. I'd had some sleep paralysis before, but those were always right when I'd go to sleep, and this wasn't exactly paralysis. No hallucinations or anything either. Edit. I talked about this with my grandmother. She's the kind of woman that would like this sort of thread. She went pale when I mentioned it. Seemed genuinely spooked. Didn't know why because it's not that scary. But she tells me why. Apparently, in early stages of pregnancy, I had a twin. Said fetal twin died because my mom got sick. This resulted in a twin resorption. For those not familiar, it's when one twin absorbs the other during pregnancy. Scary stuff. I'm old, so I don't think it's strange that you being in the shower for an hour using up hot water is the part that disturbed me the most. I was working one night. I only had 3 co-workers on shift with me. I was standing in the open part of the workspace and I could see most of the area. We had one room that was access controlled. You had to scan your badge to get in and there was only one door in and out of that room. I saw my coworker on the far side of the area walk into a room. I turned my head maybe 20 to 30 seconds later and he came out of the access controlled room. It was the creepiest thing. There was no possible way that could have happened. I was on night shift for a long time at that point, so it wasn't an issue of me being tired. At one place I worked, my coworkers would see a silent doppelganger of me walking around. They'd see it whether I was there or not. If it walked into a strange room or closet, they would follow and it would be gone as soon as they entered. Another time a girl opened a door and saw me come in from the backyard and dropped what was in her hands and screamed out. She explained that she had just seen me in the hallway behind 2 doors about 100 feet into the building. So she passed me, opened the door, and saw me entering opposite her from another door leading outside. I was the one in the yard. No idea who she passed in the hallway. Once me and a coworker were washing our hands in the employee bathroom and another employee came in and stopped dead when she saw us. She said she'd just seen us both in the lunchroom even though we definitely had not been. I have no idea what actually happened, but all 3 of us were mildly freaked out by the whole thing. Last fall, I went on a short vacation with some friends while hubby stayed home with the kids. I was last to book, so I got stuck with the entertainment room on an air mattress. The first night there I was trying to sleep and I heard this sound of overlapping whispers. It was like 100 people whispering over each other all at once. There's an episode of Star Trek TNG called Cause and Effect where they're stuck in a time loop. Dr. Crusher hears conversations stacked on top of each other from previous loops, and what they played in the episode sounded exactly like what I heard. It really creeped me out, but I tried to tell myself I'm really high and maybe the speakers are malfunctioning. I eventually forgot about it a few days later. About a month later, hubby and I were hanging out and he seemed kind of upset. I think he was just having a rough day, but one of the things he was upset about was that he was worried he was schizophrenic. He has a personality disorder, which causes mood issues. But he said he recently began hearing voices. I asked some follow-up questions and it turns out that one night he heard a bunch of overlapping whispers. Couldn't make out the words, but they were definitely human voices. He just heard it the one time. I had forgotten all about what happened on my trip until he said that. What the crap? We were in different states when I heard the voices. How did he hear the same thing 300 miles away during the same time frame? I knew what day mine happened. He didn't know aside from it being about a month ago. Part of what made me forget about it so soon was that there was a bunch of AV equipment in the corner it came from. TV, speakers, DVD player, probably a stereo. I just figured maybe it picked up some interference, which still may be true. But for us to both have the same experience, I'm still weirded out. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.